From stunning visuals to graphically detailed environments, from a fast-paced hybrid combat system to crowded multi-squad meta events. Hi, it's your boy Fate, and today we're talking about if a decade-old game can still compare in 2025. Let's find out. When you're looking for a new MMORPG, the first thing you look forward to is the game still alive? And although in the case of Guild Wars 2, Steam charts show a very dark picture, this is certainly not the case, as a large amount of the player base is playing off of Steam. The game and all its zones feel alive. And during peak hours, I find it very difficult to get into queues for certain instances, just because it's so full and overpopulated, sometimes allowing me to wait over 10 to 15 minutes. And if you do manage to get into that packed instance, it's brimming with players. Guild Wars 2's meta events are an absolute spectacle for anyone to behold. The first time that I experienced it, the whole thing almost seemed surreal. Taking down objectives one by one in coordinated strike teams, led by commanders, everything about it is extremely otherworldly. The hubs and major cities stay packed throughout the day, even during non-peak hours. And with ArenaNet's commitment and ongoing support towards expansions and updates, don't expect this game to die anytime soon. Visually speaking, in 2025, Guild Wars 2 still holds off fairly well, owing to the multiple patches the game has received and its already detailed environments. It's still absolutely beautiful to play, especially if you're playing with higher textures and settings. Although it may not seem as polished as newer Unreal Engine 5 titles, I believe this kind of art style has its own charm. That said, even with lush forests, beautiful landscapes, and that iconic painterly vibe, in 2025, older zones like Queensdale do start to show their age. The textures feel a little flat, and even the most beautiful zones do get held back by that. This has, however, been remedied in the newer maps, for example, the Secrets of the Obscure ones, with stunning dynamic lighting, dense foliage, and DirectX 11 optimization. It definitely has given them a new edge. Heck, even I was surprised by the amount of foliage that I could see and the visible changes in it while I was walking through it. I was never expecting Guild Wars 2 to have such implementation, and yet this game surprises me yet again. Now let's talk about the plague that all MMO players hate: monetization. Now for free-to-play titles, it is ultimately an inevitability, an area that generates money for the game that we all love. Yet its implementation in most games is considered egregious, and it just makes them pay to win. While other older and bigger titles hold a subscription model, and although it allows us to not have a pay to win game, a monthly subscription fee can be heavy for a lot of gamers, and it requires a certain amount of commitment that you might not believe that you have. That's where Guild Wars 2's current model comes in. The entire base game currently is entirely free to play, and the expansions are a one-time purchase, so you can essentially play the game whenever you want to if you have those expansions. The game respects your time and it respects your money. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the cash shop. Is it fair? Now the cash shop in Guild Wars 2 features a couple of upgrade and utilities that a lot of veteran players will say that are required if you plan to play the game in the long run, but you can definitely play the game completely fine without them. And although those extra inventory slots are tempting, there are completely fine ways of playing and dealing with the game without them. That said, it completely does not make the game play to win, and that's the aspect that we were discussing about. The cash shop is completely filled with fashions and cosmetics, and that is a primary region where ArenaNet makes its money. And even non-payers can actually have access to the cash shop via their gold to gem conversion system. And although it takes a lot of farming, it's definitely possible and definitely up for you. You can even save up enough gold, convert it into currency, and buy the latest expansions from it. And although the great game is a lot of fun, I would definitely recommend buying expansions whenever you're feeling like committing to the game, after you've done the 80 levels, if you've loved the story, if you've loved the playstyle. They definitely have a lot of quality of life changes that do make them all worth it. From Heart of Thorns gliders to the absolutely amazing mount system that Path of Fire has to offer. All in all, the cash shop and monetization, while it might not be perfect, it is far from predatory. And out of these expansions, the only slightly scummy thing I feel is having to buy the Living World seasons, considering they offer beautiful stories that a lot of players just tend to miss out on, and which makes the End of Dragons complete expansion a very good purchase, making it so that all of the Living World story seasons are included. And speaking of Living World, that brings us to our next topic, the lore and story of the game. Guild Wars 2's narrative thrives on its ability to make your character feel real. From the moment you create a hero, the choices you make, your race, your background, and your personal history all weave into the fabric of the story. These decisions, they aren't just cosmetic. They unlock unique dialogue options that persist even into the later expansions, adding a much deeper layer of immersion. I was always surprised when I encountered such options in Soto or in Heart of Thorns or Path of Fire. Just these small things really do go a long way. And while the impact isn't as transformative as, say, Mass Effect's branching acts, it's enough to make you feel as if the journey is uniquely yours. The story itself begins intimately, with your character's early chapter shaped by those initial choices in character creation. And as you progress, the world opens up, introducing iconic figures like Logan Thackeray, Ridlock Brimstone, and the other legendary members of Destiny's Edge, an iconic team formed over times to take down the Elder Dragons. But how you meet these characters is in a way that feels extremely organic, almost like a single-player RPG. The writing strength lies in its pacing. Personal stakes gradually start to expand into an epic, world-shaking conflict without losing that human or char touch. For many players, including myself, Guild Wars 2's story is its beating heart, and it was the reason I was personally so enthralled into the game. The base game, the Living World seasons, and the End of Dragons deliver a gripping, emotionally charged saga, spanning into nearly 100 or 200 hours easily if you're comfortable. Add that to hours of beautiful land exploration, amazing triumphs, and some tear-jerking moments. Post End of Dragons, I personally felt that the narrative loses a bit of its magic, but up till that point, it's a masterclass in MMO storytelling. And if you crave a world that reacts to who you are, Guild Wars 2 Stale is definitely worth experiencing yourself. Now, moving on to combat. Guild Wars 2's action-oriented system includes a mix between the tab targeting system of original MMOs like World of Warcraft and something in between the action style that is employed in newer games such as Black Desert Online. And safe to say, even in 2025, it's still a blast. With the variety of skill combinations you have access to in each class as you switch weapons, and how severely the build changes upon your elite specializations, Guild Wars 2 manages to keep its combat fresh. Like traditionally, a necromancer won't just be a nerd with a book or a staff. He can be wielding a greatsword or a dagger, and that adds a lot of layers to the style. Same goes for every other class. And although it's less flashy than Black Desert's eye candy style, but more strategic, every move matters. And although Guild Wars 2 does not have open world PvP, it is implied in a very unique way in World v World instances where three teams clash together in an open world style map. And the best part about PvP in Guild Wars 2 is the equalized system. There are dedicated 3v3 or 5v5 matches, which are personally a lot of fun to enjoy. And although for a new player it can be overwhelming, the community is very helpful. And the arena definitely helps you practice your skills. Now with all that said, it's to entice you to try the new game. So how is the new player experience for Guild Wars 2? Well, for the first 80 levels, the main story and main quest is going to get you through. Once you start out, you are thrown into this world story and it follows you around till level 20, giving you all the requirements that you would need at that level without having to look for gear or to do external quests to level up. Once you reach around level 25 to 30, it will get a little more difficult and the game will give you about as much experience from the story quests as you would require to get 5 levels of experience. So for example, you'd have a story quest every 10 levels and your recent one was at level 20. You would get to level 25 and need to find ways to level till 30. But Guild Wars 2 does this in a very different way as to most other games. Instead of having built-in side quests, Guild Wars 2 has a dedicated heart system where each map will have certain hearts, which implies that there are certain areas of the map that you need to go and help the locals, and that will give you experience to level up. And honestly, the heart system makes the world feel a lot more alive. You get to interact with the people in the zones, the NPCs feel original, and in each zone the quests are going to be different, tailored to what are the specific requirements for that zone. The combat does feel vastly different from other games, but you quickly adapt to it. And the leveling in the game is fairly quick. You can probably get to level 80 within a week. At least that's how long it took me while I was playing around 2-3 hours every day. And the most beautiful part is you're free to experience the first 80 levels and core area all for free. And although some of the starting zones may not be as beautiful as the expansions, core area is still one of the most interesting zones that I've seen. And during my first playthrough when I got near a world event, I was extremely surprised. Even the older maps feel very alive. There are going to be players all over these maps, whether it's for achievements or for helping out newer players. The core game feels more alive than a lot of the expansions. The one massive difficulty new players face is the vast amount of resources this game just throws at you. Your inventory is quickly going to get full up and you're not going to have an idea about how to deal with it. You're not sure about half the stuff that you have, and if you're a hoarder like me, you're going to have issues throwing it away. Fortunately enough, as you progress in the storyline, you are going to get access to bigger inventory components. And as you interact with new NPCs, you have the option to sell junk at every NPC, so that also helps clear your inventory space. But yes, inventory management and inventory wars is something that I struggle with to this day, and it's just something that takes a while to get used to. All in all, here's my verdict on Guild Wars 2. For pros, Guild Wars 2 has an unmatched exploration, an amazing and very helpful community, and a free-to-play or buy-to-play model. And most of all, it respects your time. The endgame horizontal progression system makes it so that you can come back to the game at any point and still use the gear that you had relevant even years ago. And don't forget amazing scenic meta events that are coordinated throughout the entire map, with around 50 to even 100 players. As for the cons, the game has definitely aged and the graphics do appear old as compared to newer action MMOs. And the cosmetic grind can also feel somewhat tedious, not to mention the immense inventory struggles. All in all, it all depends on what you are looking for. If you love exploring vibrant worlds, casual friendly gameplay, and a rich story, 100% yes to Guild Wars 2. However, if you're looking for high-end, cutting-edge graphics or hardcore raids, you might have to look elsewhere. But hey, the game is free, and try it, let Tyria speak for itself. And as always, if you guys stuck around for the video, be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. No, seriously guys, subscribe. Hit that button right now. Right now. Okay, thank you so much, and it's your boy Fate, signing out.